discuss about the charges, like how to configure what all charges we may incur while receiving the goods or while sending the goods to customer or to warehouse or for any reason. So charges and charge codes. So charges and charge codes are nothing but like we'll have to configure it. So whenever you receive any product from the vendor to your warehouse, lots of charges will be incurred, like transport, insurance, labor charges will be there. Also, all depends on the terms and conditions that you have entered within, with the vendor, who has to bear the charges, whether you will bear the charges or sometimes if you are sending products to customer, uh, you might have, right? So there will be separate delivery charges will be applicable. Also, since you will be doing lots of transactions on daily basis, you might be having a different accounting system that you followed. So based on your practice, like if you want to show all these expenses separately, like you should not in case if you do not want to add these costs to the inventory. See, for customer, it doesn't matter whether you if you add to the inventory or if you just tell him I mean all charges are included. But in your books of accounts, if you don't want to add show these expenses like transport, insurance, labor, etc. in inventory, uh, so you can show it separately also. So there is an option, right? So it is not necessary that you have to show all these products as a part of I mean cost to the inventory itself. Also, as I mentioned, even as per the terms and conditions that you entered with the vendor, sometimes they may bear the charges, or sometimes you'll have to bear the charges. Sometimes you'll be paying it to the directly vendor. So, for example, let's say you're trying to purchase, you have made an order, purchase order for some thousand quantity of some bats or cricket balls, anything. So, in that case, if let's say you have ordered multiple products, multiple sports item products, if vendor says that different packaging is required for is, I mean, same packaging cost is not applicable for all the products, right? For balls, there might be using separate carton box. For bats, they might be using different heavier packaging. So depending on type of the material, package cost also differs. So by default, I mean, if they don't segregate the packing charges, and if you do not, if you want to add it to inventory, then what is the basis? On what basis you want to divide the packing charges? See, transport charge will remain same because all these products will come in the same truck. He'll be sending in the same truck. So you can divide based on the quantity or based on the value. Once you receive a product in your warehouse, based on the value, so all these configurations we have to give it in the back end, right? So are you getting what all configurations that you are I mean that are required to enter? Because when in the warehouse team, the moment they receive the products, right? So there will be separate bills as well for them, like transport, labor, etc. So they will have to show in the they will have to update all the details in the system, right? Uh, so they wouldn't be knowing to which account has to be given everything. So we'll have to configure everything based on the accounting system that is being practiced by the organization. So based on our configuration, so it will directly show them options, what all options are available. So based on that, I mean, we can even create a groups also if there are a few common charges, or let's say if there are any common freight charges or something, we can create a vendor groups. So here in accounts payable, Under setup, we have a charges setup. See here, we have got all these things like charges code, vendor charges group, item charges, automatic charges. So whenever you see, also we have an option for automatic charges. Let's say if you're doing frequent transactions with any of these vendors, you can make it as a group of specific charging type, and you can give it in while creating the vendor form itself. So while creating the vendor form, or even for product specific also, you can show the charges. So whenever you do transactions with that particular vendor, or with that particular product, by default the charges whatever you have given in these automatic charges, right? So those will be applied. So you need not to do anything manually out there. So now we'll try to see, let's say for example, mm, so before getting into the configuration, we'll try to see like what all types of charges that are there. So in general, what is a charges expense? I mean, general entry for charges, like any of these expenses. Can someone help me with the journal entry if you are paying for transport, or if you're paying for insurance, labor, anything? So what is the journal entry here? See, these charges or these services you are not, let's say you are not getting this, you are not taking the services from the vendor. This is third party consultancies will be there, right? Or agencies will be there who will be providing these transport agencies, insurance agencies. So let's say for example, if you want to pay some 1,000 rupees as a transport for shipment charges to any of the transport vendor. So what is the entry here?
Expense, sorry, expense account or transport account data to the person consultancy credit.
Hmm. So transport. Let's say if you're paying it for some SRS travel, will not be accounts payable vendors. They are just normal service providers. You can give the company name. I mean, it can. They also can be a vendor. It is not mandatory. So if you want to add them, even if you want to add even these vendors to the summary account of accounts payable, you can give it as an accounts payable. Uh, but it is up to you. Like I mean, it all depends on the requirement. If you want to show it separately, then you can show them separately. Because in general, if you add it to even if you add even these agencies or these suppliers to accounts payable, right? Then it will be shown as a the accounts payable balance will be showing huge. There will be huge difference. You might be it will be difficult for you to analyze by looking at the accounts payable balance. You don't know whether it is related to products or it is related to the expenses. So that's the reason uh, we have an flexibility to configure in such a way so that if you want to add these expenses to vendor, or if you are bearing on from your in your books of accounts, or if you want to add it to inventory, not to add it inventory, all these things can be done. So let's say for example, charges. See, these are the most common practices to add charges or to, to the accounting system that is being followed to record the charges. So let's say, for example, you want to add these charges to inventory stock. Even here also there are chances, right? You might be paying from your end, or the vendor might be paying. See, if you are bearing these charges, is up to you. So you can pay to either a third party vendor, or let's say, for example, if you are incurring this transport, if you are paying these transport expenses, sorry. So if you are paying these transport expenses to any transport agency, then you will have to show his name is separately, right, in your books of accounts. So if you're paying it to vendor directly, let's say you have entered an agreement with the vendor that any transport expenses he should be adding it to the inventory, but he will be paying separate amount to the vendor. So let's say, for example, paid to vendor. So did you understand the type of charges that are levied and how it is being levied? So there's one more scenario, right? As I mentioned. So this is something which you want to add it to the inventory of the stock. But what if you do not want to add these charges to inventory or stock? But same logic applies here also, right? The only thing is you do not want to add these charges to the stock. But payment related, it will be same. Whether depending on the terms that you have entered, you will be either paying it to vendor or you have to pay it to the consultancy. So apart from this, do you have any other scenarios? Hello.
हाँ bro.
So did you understand this one, like how charges are levied?
Srinivas, sorry, చార్జెస్ అంటే లైక్ ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్ చార్జెస్ స్టాక్ వాల్యూ కార్డ్ అయితాయా లేదంటే ఓన్లీ ఇన్వాయిస్లో కనిపిస్తాయా సెపరేట్గా?
ఇన్వాయిస్ ఏంది, స్టాక్ ఏంది, అర్థం కాల.
చార్జెస్ అంటే ఏంటిది? ఇప్పుడు ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్ కానీ లేబర్ కానీ పెడతాం కదా,
Hmm.
సో అది ఇన్వెంటరీ వాల్యూ అంటే బిల్లులో యాడ్ అయిపోతుంది అదంటున్నావా, లేదంటే స్టాక్ సపోజ్ 1000 ఉంది, ట్రాన్స్పోర్టేషన్ వాల్యూ 10, సో టోటల్ 110 అవుతుంది అంటున్నావా స్టాక్? ఎందుకంటే ఈ కాన్సెప్ట్ నాకు అర్థం కాలేదు.
అదే అన్నది, ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ సపరేట్గా చూపించాలా లేకపోతే ఇన్వెంటరీ, అదే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇప్పుడు ఇన్వెంటరీ
100 చూపియాలా, 100 చూపియాలా,
ఫర్
110
ఎగ్జాంపుల్
చూపియాలా
ఇప్పుడు
అంతే కదా?
అదే 100 చూపించాలా, 110 చూపించాలా, లేకపోతే అకౌంట్స్ పేబుల్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ Let's say, for example, this one only. We'll take this scenario. So here, so we wanted to add it to inventory, right? Let's say goods purchased 1,000 rupees. Let's say, for example, if you are incurring some 300 rupees charges. So in this scenario, charges added to the inventory, that you wanted to add it to the inventory itself. If you are purchasing some, 5 bags of 1,000 rupees, and if you want to add this 300 rupees to all these 1,000 rupees bags itself, then what is the journal entry? And if you are paying it to vendor, so you do not want, I mean, you said that I don't know what is it, I mean, how to get the transport agency details. Better you only bear the charges, I'll be directly paying it to you, that's all. So that is vendor headache, how to arrange transport, everything. Now tell me, what is the journal entry in your books of accounts? Hello.
Uh, Goods purchased, debit, transport charges, debit to uh,
I
cash
just know what is the scenario here. Charges added to inventory.
entry. So inventory will be credited.
So when you receive an inventory, what is a journal entry?
Purchase account data to bank or cash.
Here we'll be using inventory account, right? Inventory received, right?
Hmm. So we
Inventory
can
received to accounts payable. Now tell me the amount that I shall have to enter here. So based on the scenario, you can assume. So what is the inventory cost?
1300.
Here, what is the inventory cost as per the statement?
1000.
1,000 rupees. And we have, as per this condition, we'll be adding this 300 rupees to the inventory, and we'll be paying it to the vendor directly. So you're not going to split, or it is just like an inclusive of all the charges. Let's say you have ordered from a product from Amazon. uh, you do not, it is not, it is their headache to bear the charges, right? So, and even they might be having two different options, right? They have exclusive, I mean, separate delivery charges will be applicable, or including all the delivery charges. So let's say you have ordered, so you have received the product in your books of accounts. This is the general entry that you are going to post, right? Inventory received, you want to add it to inventory itself, and you're supposed to pay 1,300 rupees the Amazon. So is this entry clear? Hello.
No, clearance. Srinivas.
What about others?
Bro, clear.
Is simple entry అంతే, just ఆన్లైన్ ఆర్డర్ చేసినాను, తీసుకున్నాం, అయిపోయింది. And what is the next scenario? Charges added to inventory, but you are paying it to some consultancy. Here, tell me the same thing. For example, let me use the same entry here. Say, for example, SLV Travels. So now tell me what is the entry here? Hello.
శ్రీనివాస్ entry
Here, what will be the journal entry?
పర్చేజ్ అకౌంట్ డేటా ఇవి యాడ్ అయింది కదా 1300 ఏపీ 1000 ఎస్ఎల్వి 300.
Simple. ఇన్వెంటరీకి అయితే యాడ్ చేసాము, బట్ అకౌంట్స్ పేబుల్లో మాత్రము when in our books of accounts vendor balance will be only 1000 rupees. It has nothing to do with, because we are bearing the charges, transport charges. So are you clear with this one? Hello.
క్లియర్ శ్రీనివాస్.
Okay.
Bro.
What? Okay. So what is the next process? Charges not added to inventory but paid to the vendor. Either you will be bearing the charges, or vendor will be bearing the charges, but at any you have to bear the charges, right? I mean, you will have to incur these charges in any way. Now tell me what will be the journal entry here. We'll take the same entry here. This travels name, because you're not bothered about the transport agency name. You are just paying it to vendor, but the only thing is you do not want to add it to the inventory, but in your books of accounts you want to show it, the transport expenses, separately. Now tell me what will be the journal entry here. Not added to the inventory, right? So that means first you will be showing the inventory amount, inventory journal entry. What is the inventory received here?
1000.
1000. But you want to show these expenses separately, right, in your books of accounts. The consultancy name, let's say we'll use the name here, same. Three hundred. But to whom you are going to pay? You are going to pay to the vendor directly, right? So you don't want for sorry for here it is not like transport expenses. Okay. So are you clear with this one?
ఓకే శ్రీనివాస్.
Okay. So what is the next scenario here? Even here also we'll take the same example. Okay, now tell me what will be the journal entry here.
Inventory 1000, transportation 300, AP 1000 credit, SLV 300 credit.
So it will be two different entries, that's all. So here it is simple. You'll since you are not bearing the charges, you directly. I mean, you are paying the charges, but you are not adding. You do not want to add it to the inventory, and you'll be directly paying it to the consultancy. So let's say, for example, are you clear with this one? Hello.
Okay, Varun.
So these are the most common scenarios, right? So how do you bear the charges and all? So if there are any other ways, then we'll see that later. But these are the most common ways that you will be incurring. So do you have any doubts here in all the? Did you understand? Hello.
No doubts for this.
Okay. So if you understand these journal entries, then we'll quickly create the charges codes. So if you want to configure these charges codes, you'll have to go to the vendor charges codes here. That is in accounts payable. And let me just show you once again. It is accounts payable. Policy set. Sorry, it's setup. Again, we'll have a separate payment setup. Sorry, charges setup. This will not come under charges setup. We have these all are included only for related to charges. charges set, charges code, automatic charges also will see. So click on charges code here. So before we configure, I will quickly show you how does it works in another in the USMF. So let's say you want to create a new charge here. For example, transport. See, there is a maximum amount also here. So if you want, you can enter here. So if you give this maximum amount, then while receiving an inventory in your warehouse, right? So your warehouse team, they will have an idea. Okay, uh, in case if they're sending, I mean, on daily basis, you will be doing some transactions with the vendor, and if you're incurring only 200 rupees since a while, and if there is a sudden change or anything, so it will throw an error or warning message to the warehouse team that they should not be exceeding more than 200. Then it will trigger them. So that's the reason. If you want, you can give that maximum amount here. It will help warehouse team. So in our example, let's go one by one here. Hmm. So here we want to add the charges to the inventory. Also, we are directly paying it to the vendor instead of third party. So what is it? So here, if you see, posting debit and credit both are there. In the debit, what is it we are giving here? Inventory received, that you wanted to add it to the inventory, and the credit you will have to add it to the accounts payable, right? This charges. So here under type, item is nothing but the inventory. So you will select item, and what is the credit that you are wanted to give? Vendor account, right? That is a summary account. So you'll be adding it to the customer or vendor. When you, with the moment you add the customer or vendor, this option will be enabled. So it says that compare purchase order and invoice values. If this option is selected, the charges values for the current charges codes are included in. So by default, it will go for purchase order only, right? So that's the reason this option will be enabled. And these you can ignore. It is not necessary. So let's say, for example, if you click on save, yeah, now it is saved here. So what is the next one?
Paid to consultancy.
Next scenario is you wanted to add it to the inventory, but you're paying it to the consultancy. Let's say, for example, for our understanding, so we are not able to edit this one. Fine. So we'll just create one more new. We'll give it as a 1.b here. Okay, there's restrictions here. Let's say instead of transport, we'll take it as a labor charges. We'll be paying it to the consultants, right? So labor charges. See, 1.b, I'm updating to make one. I mean, it will be easy for you to understand here. Here. What do you mean by 1.p? Charges added to the inventory, but you are paying it to the consultancy. So the moment you select this option, right, this entry has to be passed in your books of accounts. So in order to post this journal entry, what is the debit that we are supposed to give? You are adding it to the inventory. So you'll have to select the item, that is inventory account here. What is the credit that you are supposed to select? So what all accounts are there here? Hello.
AP and transport one.
AP and transport are there, but this form is dealing only with the charges code, right? So it is asking only, see, it is not asking you where do you want to record the transaction regarding the inventory. It is asking only where do you want to record the expenses, that is charges.
So it will be transport expenses.
It will be transport expenses, but here in this drop down, if you see, we have three items: item, ledger, customer. We are not adding it to the inventory.
So we'll add for ledger account.
We'll add for the ledger account. That means we'll have to, you see, we are paying it to the vendor, but that doesn't mean that we'll be selecting customer or vendor. We'll have to show it separately, right? So we'll select ledger account, and posting we'll have to give it here. For example, let's see what is the posting here.
పోస్టింగ్ అంటే పర్టికులర్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ ఎక్కడ పోస్ట్ చేస్తున్నామన్నా?
Type of expenditure.
ఓకే.
ఇక్కడ లిస్ట్ ఉంది కదా, ఆర్డర్ ఫ్రైట్, ఆర్డర్ క్యాష్, ఇవన్నీ ఉన్నాయి చూడు. పర్చేస్ చార్జెస్, ఇన్సూరెన్స్, exclusively for purchase charges, duty, purchase charges, freight. It's like that. Inventory expenditure.
మనం అదే సెలెక్ట్ చేయాలి కదా, పర్చేస్ చార్జెస్ ఫ్రైట్.
అదే జస్ట్ చూపిస్తున్నాను నీకు ఇక్కడ.
ఓకే.
బట్ సి పర్చేస్ చార్జెస్ సెలెక్ట్ చేస్తే, ఐ మీన్ ఇఫ్ యూ సెలెక్ట్ like just charges freight, wait, for example, if you just select order or freight, then by default it will be applicable for purchase orders and sales orders both. But if you select posting type as only purchase charges, right, then it will not be applicable to sales order. So to make it a common expenses, or make it a common charge code, we'll just make it add it to the this is the charges right here.
టైప్ చేస్తారా?
Just ordered freight we have just awesome ordered freight. So now did you understand, right, why we selecting order freight instead of purchase or something related to sales also? Because we have even for sales also this year, sales commission, sales rebate, all these things are there. So it will be added to the only purchases over there. Okay, so we want to add it to the labor, right? So you'll have to create a labor account here. We don't have any labor account here. So we'll create one separate ledger account. For example, so we'll create a labor expenses account here. One, and since it is an expense, we'll be selecting this expense here. That's all. So rest all these fields be like that. Will allow this do not allow manual entry. If you if you enable this option as a yes, then you will not be able to post any journal entries if you want to any of your warehouse team, or if they wanted to pay, or any of your GL team if they wanted to pay, it will not be allowed. So this main account will be picked by default while posting the purchase order, and it will be added. So let it be this one. Click on save. So now let's say, for example, here we'll have to give the account. So what is the account that we have created? Not sure why it is not showing here. Labor expenses, it is here, 5,10,000. Let me refresh here. It is taking some time to load that main account. So instead we'll go for the traveling expenses, which is already there. Sorry, transport expenses. Or let's say, for example, we have already created the labor account, right? So let me just rename this as a instead of labor, I'll give it as an advertisement expenses. We should have created main accounts before only, because nowadays it is not. It is taking some time to load here. We'll be adding it to the inventory, but we'll have to show it separately. So we'll select the posting type as a order freight, and the account advertisement. So it should be credited. It should be what is the scenario that you're facing here? You're paying it to the consultancy. Yeah. So we are not giving consultancy name here. So directly we are creating one separate main account. So are you getting my point here?
పైన పోస్టింగ్లో కూడా మనము ఆ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్ ఎక్కడ హిట్ అంటే ఎక్కడ వెళ్ళాలి అని చెప్పి ఇచ్చాం కదా, మళ్ళీ మెయిన్ అకౌంట్ ఎందుకు? ఇక్కడ ఫ్రైట్ అని ఇచ్చాము, సో అది డెఫినెట్లీ
అది
ఫ్రైట్
టైప్
అకౌంట్లో
ఓన్లీ.
పడిపోతుంది.
ఆ
సారీ,
ఫ్రైట్ నేమ్ ఏంది? డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్రైట్స్ ఉండొచ్చు కదా.
ఓకే.
ఫ్రైట్ అనేది ఒక నేమ్, బట్ డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్రైట్ ఉండొచ్చు కదా. ఆ ఫ్రై అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఓన్లీ ఎయిర్వేస్ ఉండొచ్చు, రోడ్వేస్ ఉండొచ్చు, రైల్వేస్ ఉండొచ్చు, ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి కదా. సో అలా అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ కూడా నేను ఈ ఫ్రైట్ కిందకే ఇచ్చేస్తున్నాను. లేదంటే ఏదైనా సపరేట్ ఉంటే సపరేట్ సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు, బట్ మోస్ట్ ఆర్డర్ ఫ్రైట్ కింద ఇచ్చేద్దాం అంతే.
ఓకే, అర్థమైంది. మళ్ళీ
ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్
ఫ్రైట్ లో క్లాసిఫికేషన్ ఇస్తున్నావు అంతే.
జస్ట్ ఫ్రైట్లో క్లాసిఫికేషన్ అంతే. యాక్చువల్గా ఇవ్వకూడదు, ఇది అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ సపరేట్ ఏదన్నా కేటగిరీ చూడాలి పోస్టింగ్ది. బట్ ఓకే, ఇక్కడ అంత క్లారిటీ లేదు కాబట్టి జస్ట్ పోస్టింగ్ టైప్లో ఆర్డర్ ప్రైట్ కింద ఇచ్చేద్దాం అంతే.
ఓకే.
Hmm. సో ఇది అర్థమైందా ఇది?
అర్థమైంది.
అంటే ఇక్కడ నీకు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నువ్వు అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్ అనేది కాకుండా ఏదన్నా వెండర్ నేమ్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకున్నావు అనుకో. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఏబీసీ అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్ కంపెనీ ఉందనుకో, నువ్వు అదే కదా చూపించాల్సింది. బట్ ఇక్కడ మనం అది వెండర్ అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేయలేదు. సో జస్ట్ అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్కి చూపిస్తున్నాం హెడ్డింగ్ అంతే. అర్థమవుతుందా? అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్ అనేది
అర్థమైంది.
జనరల్గా డెబిట్ అవ్వాలి. బట్ ఇక్కడ చూపిస్తుంది డైరెక్ట్. లేదు అంటే యూ కెన్ క్రియేట్ ఎ సపరేట్ మెయిన్ అకౌంట్ ఫర్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ కంపెనీ నేమ్. Okay, so what is the next scenario here? We do not want to add it to the inventory, but we are paying it to the vendor. So here what will be the scenario? For example, we'll take the same transport, but యాక్చువల్గా మనం సపరేట్ మెయిన్ అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలి ఇక్కడ. అంటే థర్డ్ పార్టీ పేబుల్ కానీ కంపెనీ నేమ్ కానీ అట్లా ఏమైనా ఉందంటే, కానీ ఇక్కడ రావట్లేదని. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ వద్దు, ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ ఆల్రెడీ చేసాం కదా, ఇన్సూరెన్స్ అనుకున్నాం. Let's say you are paying some insurance amount for your transport. What as per the scenario, so we do not want to add it to the inventory itself, right? We'll be paying it to the vendor. So now tell me, we do not want to add it to the vendor, but we are paying directly to the vendor. So here what will be the debit here? Hello?
డ్రాప్ లిస్ట్ లో ఏమున్నాయి?
Item, ledger, customer. ఇక్కడ చూస్తే జనరల్ ఎంట్రీ ఏముంది మనకు? ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్ ఎక్కడ యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాం మనం? సారీ, హియర్.
ట్రాన్స్పోర్ట్ యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాం.
అదే ఇక్కడ ఇన్సూరెన్స్ అనుకో. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్ సపరేట్గా చూపిస్తున్నాం కదా. ఇన్సూరెన్స్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ లెట్స్ సే హియర్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్. So you wanted to show this insurance expense separately, but you are paying it to the vendor and you do not want to add it to the inventory. So as per here, what is the debit that you are going to give? The insurance expenses account only, right? Here if there is any company name, or you can give that company name here. So are you getting my point here? Hello.
లెక్చర్ అకౌంటే వస్తుంది కదా అక్కడ కూడా.
అదే లెడ్జర్ అకౌంట్ ఇక్కడ.
అక్కడ పోస్టింగ్ లో ఇన్సూరెన్స్ సంబంధించింది.
ఇన్సూరెన్స్ అను ఏం లేదు. సో ఆర్డర్ ఫ్రైట్ కిందకే వేసేసాం ఇది. ఆర్డర్ ఫ్రైట్. సో మెయిన్ అకౌంట్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్.
ఇన్సూరెన్స్ వస్తుంది అంటే ఏ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్, లైక్ స్టాక్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్, ఫైర్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్, XYZ?
అదే ఏముంటాయి అది మనకి ఇక్కడ
ఇన్సూరెన్స్ లేదు, అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ వేసి.
ఓకే, సో అడ్వర్టైజ్మెంట్ అనుకున్నాం. సో అదే చేసాం. నెక్స్ట్ క్రెడిట్ అకౌంట్స్ పేబుల్కి ఇచ్చేస్తున్నాం. అకౌంట్స్ పేబుల్ ఈజ్ నథింగ్ బట్ వెండర్. సో ఇక్కడ పోస్టింగ్ అకౌంట్ ఇవి ఏం అవసరం లేదు కదా, ఎందుకంటే బై డిఫాల్ట్ ఇట్ విల్ గో టు అకౌంట్స్ పేబుల్. అంతే కదా.
అంతే అంతేగా.
సో వాట్ ఈస్ ద నెక్స్ట్ సినారియో? You do not want to add it to the inventory and you are paying it separately. It's two different entries. అర్థమైందా ఇక్కడ? హలో, 2.b. For example, insurance, advertisement, transport, we are done. So what are the other main accounts we have?
రెండు లెగ్.
Let's say for example, same insurance. మెయిన్ అకౌంట్స్ ఏమన్నా చూద్దామండి.
పైన అయితే రెండు డెబిట్ క్రెడిట్ అవే వస్తాయి కదా, లెక్చర్ అకౌంట్ వస్తుంది.
పైన రెండు డెబిట్ వస్తాయి. పైన రెండు డెబిట్ క్రెడిట్లు కూడా లెడ్జర్ అకౌంట్లో వస్తాయి. సో లెట్స్ సే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఓకే, అదర్ మనం 2 డిఫరెంట్ అకౌంట్స్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలి. ఒక వెండర్ అకౌంట్ కూడా క్రియేట్ చేయాలి ఇక్కడ. మనం అలా ఇవ్వదు ఎక్స్పెన్సెస్ అకౌంట్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ సేమ్ ఇన్సూరెన్స్ బట్ విల్ గివ్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ఏ 2.b హియర్. So this form will help you to configure only that is related to insurance, that is the charges. So regarding the inventory, it will not ask anything. So inventory account, inventory posting, anyways we have already given in the inventory management, right? Like in posting. So here, so now you'll ignore this journal entry here. So we'll not be looking into this inventory receipt one. Only transport expenses account data to SLV, or here if you're paying this insurance expenses, insurance expenses account data to SLV. So let's say SLV is dealing both for transport and is providing the insurance also. So you are directly paying it to them. So what will be the posting type here? We will select the same order freight. Since we do not have any insurance expenses, okay, now labor expenses account has been updated here, but we have already created over there. So let's say insurance is part of transport itself, or assume that transport, this is an insurance account. So we'll have to create a separate main account, right, in the name of SLV agency. So we do not have anything. Let's quickly create that one.
శ్రీనివాస్,
Ah,
నేను మళ్ళీ 10 minutes కనెక్ట్ అవుతాను, లేదంటే రికార్డింగ్ చూసుకుంటాను. ఓకే.
అయిపోయింది అంతే. ఏం లేదు, ఇక్కడ కన్సల్టెన్సీ అకౌంట్ ఇస్తాం అంతే. Yeah. So here in the credit, we'll have to give the consultancy here. That's all. So it will take some time to load here. So these are the different types of charges that you can give it all. So in the next class, we'll try to post, few transactions in, like in purchase order, how to post all these transactions, and you'll understand. So while practicing, first you try to create all the main accounts and keep it ready. So then it will be easy for you to configure these charges codes. Okay. So any other doubts here?